Wayne Newton might be a caricature to some. To others, the man is a show business legend and a walking history book. Well, Wayne, whenever I get concerned that the nightclub industry is going to disappear, all I got to do is come to a place like Resorts and see you on stage with 35 musicians, and I know that there's still some hope.
The dinosaurs are here, right?
I don't know if dinosaur is the correct word. Someone's got to carry on the bloodline, don't they?
I tell you, we have talked about it many times amongst our friends, you inclusive, of course, and like you, I think most of us who are quote-unquote saloon singers realize that there is a chance that this is a dying breed, that it is an endangered species, simply because with television and recording today, they're not giving the youngsters, not that you and I are old, but older than
yes.
Some of the youngsters that are out there. They're not giving them a place to learn their trade, and they're burning them out before they're capable of learning it. And so it is something to be concerned about.
And a lot of the younger artists, the ones that are just starting out, prefer to go into a recording studio and get a few products out there, get some airplay, get into heavy rotation on MTV, and then once they become popular, they go right to working the 5,000 and 10,000 seat arena dates and concert dates. They don't want to do nightclubs.
Well, not only do they not know how to play a nightclub, it's interesting to me, and this is not meant in a derisive way, but when they're playing these places that seat 10 and 20,000 people, they're lip syncing. They're going out there with tracks and big cameras on the side and absolutely lip syncing to their records. So there's no chance that they're ever going to learn what it's like to walk out in front of a live audience and entertain them.
I was doing my advanced math, and if my calculations are correct, you're 53.
You're right on the money.
Okay.
Going on 14.
Going on 14. But at 53, you were younger than the 3 surviving members of the Beatles, just about every member of the Rolling Stones, and yet the music you perform, the era you come from, is completely opposite from them. Do you ever feel that you were born out of in the wrong time, or you came up during the wrong era?
I was accused of that a lot. An anachronism. It's a throwback to a different generation. I had the president of Capitol Records say to me one time, his name was Stanley Gordikov. He has since gone on to do other things, and he was signing me again to like my 13th year with Capitol Records. And the Beatles were the hottest thing going, and he said, you know, we've been out signing the Beatles and other groups like them, and he said, and yet when your name came up, everybody said, we got to sign him again. We don't know why, but we got to sign him again. And I think it probably had something to do with the fact that the people like me, like Nancy Wilson, like so many of my contemporaries were album sellers, and so they could depend on that. We were the slot machines for the record industry,
right?
You know.
Interesting. You tasted success at a very early age, at a time when most kids are still trying to figure out who they are and what they're all about. You were out working all over the country, selling records on Ed Sullivan, becoming the Midnight Idol in Las Vegas. Did you ever feel that way? Did you ever feel it was too much too soon? I mean, looking back.
No, I think that probably in retrospect, I was blessed that it wasn't an overnight thing for me. In other words, I started in show business at the age of 4. At 6 years old, I had my own radio show before going to school. Then at 11 years old in Phoenix, I had a local television show for 4 years. And then at 15, I went to Las Vegas and we played lounges. So then along came Mr. Gleason and Bobby Darin and Mr. Benny and Lucille Ball and Ed Sullivan and all those people that embraced me. And they embraced me in such a way that it was not an overnight street recognition. It was a growing process. So with that, I was able to mentally grow with it versus waking up one day and having 10,000 teenagers screaming outside my window. I really kind of came through the back door of all of it. And to this day, as I reflect on it, I realize the chances of that happening again are slim and none. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
It couldn't happen to someone in the same way today, then?
Well, when you consider that the greats, the Bennies, and even those that are still with us, Mr. Burns, Mr. Sinatra, Dean Martin, Mr. Hope, are all of a chronological period that all of us hope they live forever. But I'm still 30 years their junior. And so for them to embrace somebody like me was unheard of. And you look at what's today in terms of what's coming to replace that void that will be left.
Right. And there will be a void.
And there is now those that have gone. I mean, there's that void. They're not coming because there's no place to learn it.
Well, because of your success, have you ever felt that you were a prisoner of your success?
No question about that. I think that not only do you become a prisoner of your success, and that's a foregone conclusion. I mean, being here, as much as I love it, I go from my suite to the showroom, back to my suite. And my barber said to me today, "Hey, come on, let's walk down the boardwalk." I said, "Are you nuts?" And I mean, the last time I walked down the boardwalk might have been 2 or 3 years ago, and it took me an hour and a half to get a block. And I mean, there are just some things you can't do. Well, that's the price you pay, I'm afraid. But you do become a prisoner. And in many instances, and I think if there is anything to really be concerned about, there's always that possibility that you become a caricature.
That was going to be my next question. You're reading my mind. Yeah.
You know?
How do you prevent that from happening? Or can you?
Well, it's only to a certain extent, I think. I shaved my mustache off. When I had that mustache for so long, it hit me one night like a ton of brick because a lady handed me on stage a T-shirt, a white T-shirt, and all it had were just 2 eyes with the eyebrows and a mustache. And I knew exactly who it was. And everybody else knew who it was. And I looked around me and I realized that the Wayne Newton impersonators it was the mustache. And so not too long after that is when I made the conscious decision to just get rid of it because I was truly becoming a caricature of myself.
Right, so now you threw the impressionists a curveball.
Well, you know, they're still keeping the mustache, interestingly enough, and some people don't realize I've shaved it off.
So do you have to have an announcement made before the show, ladies and gentlemen? That really is...
Here's Wayne without the mustache.
He will be appearing here tonight. Part of your success, or because of your success over the years, you've been involved in all kinds of crazy controversies and everything. And what I was wondering is, was there a way you could have avoided any of say the big suit with NBC or anything like that? Was that because of you were Wayne Newton? I mean, and you were fair game, and they were out there after you?
I think it was twofold. I think that's certainly part of it, no question about it. The Orientals have a saying that the nail that sticks out the furthest gets hit the most. And so, without a doubt, that was part of it. The other thing that made that happen was that they hit me at a place that I had to fight them on. They accused me of something that my child was going to have to live with, my parents were going to have to live with, and I will have to live with the rest of my life. And there's no day that goes by that I don't say to myself, boy, I wish that hadn't happened. But it did happen. And I think that one has to come to the realizations in life, no matter what you do, about what you'll fight for and what you'll let roll off your back.
And you made a conscious decision to fight for that one.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. and I fought it 10 years. And one day I realized, and it was the most interesting thing, I think, in terms of those kind of turmoils and in terms of those kind of problems that can happen to you, that I was carrying it around far longer than anybody even remembered it. You know, when I would mention the NBC things to lay people or even media people, they didn't know what I was talking about because they were on to other things,
right.
You know. So I had to be careful, and it was a wonderful lesson that I learned, to let it go. I mean, I had done what I needed to do. I had vindicated my name.
Right, you won the lawsuit.
Yes,
and
I did.
Your name was cleared.
Right. And it cost me a fortune,
right.
And it cost me a lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of heartache. But given the same set of circumstances, I'd have to do it all over again.
You mentioned the heartache you went through, the sleepless nights, the fortune it cost you, and you know, in the past few years you had some more financial difficulties. Whether or not that was a result of it, I don't know. But what I want to know is, how, with all of that going on, do you get up on stage every night and leave that stuff in the wings and go out there and do that 2.5 hour fun fest? How do you get your head around, you know, work to the exclusion of all else?
I think it's those lessons that I learned from those masters that I grew up around. Those great ones like Mr. Gleason and like Mr. Benny and like Mr. Burns, and I named them, Bobby Darin, taught me so much about leaving whatever my problems are. I remember Danny Thomas saying to me one day, "How you feeling, kid?" And I said, "I got a bad cold." He said, "Whatever you do, don't tell the audience that, because they don't deserve to hear that. They've got colds, they've got problems, they've got, you know, health problems, they've got money problems, and the last thing they need in the world are your problems." He said, because what they're paying for is to make you to forget their problems. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's that's kept me sane. I think it's that has acted as kind of a shedding, if you will. I am able to, for the amount of time that I'm out there, can't nobody bring me no bad news.
It's an escape.
It's an escape, totally and completely. And it's amazing because it does keep you sane. It keeps you sharp, and it does give you that light at the end of the tunnel.
You mentioned the Danny Thomas thing. Danny Thomas telling you not to go out on stage and tell the people you have a cold because they're here to forget about their own problems, let alone hear about yours. But yet the artists today, the younger ones that do occasionally play Atlantic City, they don't seem to mind coming out on stage and saying, "Oh, I have a terrible cold, my allergies are bothering me, my sinuses," and they're violating what I guess is a cardinal rule of nightclubs, aren't they?
Absolutely. They're violating everything that audience is paying to see. The minute they plant that thought, I don't care how brilliant they might end up being by the end of the show, the minute you plant that negative, that's what that audience is going to walk out remembering. And sure, some of them will say, well, they weren't up to par because they weren't feeling good. But they'll take that into consideration the next time they're going to pay $50 to see them. And people will always come to me and say, you know, you do 2 shows a night in Vegas, 7 nights a week when we were doing that. How does your voice take that? I mean, you know, Vegas throat. Mm-hmm. And I laugh and I said, there's no such thing as Vegas throat. It doesn't exist. What it is are performers who come here, they go out and play golf all day, or they party all night, and they don't realize that there's a job to be done here. And it takes a lot of discipline to do that job. And I said, I have never seen anybody who was starving with Vegas throat.
You're right. You're right.
You'll never know just how much I care, and if I try.
You know, the last few years, you've done a few motion pictures, a few more motion pictures. Right. Where does acting fit into the broad scheme of the career these days? Is it something that you'll do, you know, when the right thing comes along, or something you want to get more serious about?
I want to get more serious about it, but I never want to give up what I do out here. I might do a little less of what I do out here, but that will always, I think, remain my main focus. Acting enters into losing Wayne Newton for a while. You got to, I said to somebody, actors go to work to be someone else for that day. I go to work to be Wayne Newton. When I wake up, I'm Wayne Newton.
That's a stereotype.
Exactly. Yeah. And when I'm out on stage, I'm Wayne Newton. And so when I can do a part in a motion picture and make it believable as an actor, then that feeds that artistic end that Wayne Newton no longer feeds. And even though we're constantly striving out there to do new things and keep the show as contemporary as possible, I always realize it's Wayne Newton. And when I did the Rosie show not too long ago, they cast me as Wayne Newton.
Right.
Well, one of the lines in the opening scene was that I was in a lounge and she comes in boisterously drunk. And I yelled at a bodyguard, "Get her out of here." And I said, "I can't do that line." And the producer said, "Why?" And I said, "Because Wayne Newton would not do that line." And so...
because that's the person that Wayne Newton performs for every night.
Exactly. And it's funny because when you say Wayne Newton wouldn't do that line like it's another person,
right,
it truly is another person in many ways. But you have to know who that person is too.
Do you find that it might be easier for you to get different acting roles or more character acting roles without the mustache? Because that mustache was the Wayne Newton stereotype, wasn't it?
It was, and it was funny because the minute I lost it, I did get more acting roles. It was really strange. I have done, I think, 9 motion pictures now, and up until the time I shaved that off, I had done 2. And so, that really says it all.
Good career move. Good career shave, anyway. Before I go, you want to introduce us to the newest member of the
Newton family?
The Newton family, yeah.
Well, if she's fairly coy,
Yeah, I know.
This is a Rottweiler. Come on.
This is a Rottweiler snack.
Come here. Come here. I want you to say hello to everybody. Say hi. Oh, I love you too.
She's so
cute. This is Bo.
This is Bo?
Yeah, this is Mrs. Newton's love of her life outside of me and her daughter.
Someone to keep her company while you're out being Wayne Newton.
Well, actually, she goes with me and she comes along. Right. Check.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Wayne. Thanks so much.
God bless.
Continued success.
Thank you very much.
You too, Bo. Back with our calendar segment right after this. Well, if I had to come up with one word to describe Wayne Newton, I think that word would be survivor. He's been up and down financially. He's been through a ringer with his protracted lawsuit against NBC. But somehow Wayne always manages to come out on top, especially when he's on stage, whether it's Atlantic City or Las Vegas or even in Branson, Missouri. Wayne Newton is Mr. Showmanship. And that'll do it for today's show. I'm David Spatz. For all of us here at the show, thanks for being with us, and we leave you now with the music of Wayne Newton. See you again tomorrow.
The David Spatz Show has been brought to you by Merv Griffin's Resorts.
You went away and my heart, it went with you. Must be your name in my every prayer. And if there's some other way to prove that I love you, I swear I don't know how. You'll never know if you don't know.